Hi, good afternoon. I'm Raleigh Brown. This is another curve flattening concert. I see folks checking in on YouTube, Keith Shaw and Steve DeHaas. And on Facebook, Steve Walker, Rhonda Scott Merrick, Keith Shaw again, Slim Edelman, Linda Pascoe Blaze, Tom Dietz, Dave Mason in Scotland, Jim Moore, who I haven't heard from in a while, and Kathy Marsick, and like that. So, and Slim Edelman says Eastern, and I think he's asking about the time of Steve Walker's concert tonight, and it is at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So that'll get announced during the announcements. So today is going to be a little experiment for me. I'm going to do I always do 3 songs and 1 instrumental and a certain amount of what we affectionately call yapping. And today I'm going to do something a little different because I've been working on a new arrangement, and I'll explain the whole story to you. There's a whole history that goes back to 1970. And then I'll play it for you. We'll talk about how I put the arrangement together and what had to be done. So that'll come at the end of the show because I didn't want to those of you who get tired of my yapping, I didn't want to hold you up. So I thought I would do my singing first. So first off, let's clunk. I'm clunking with water again today because I've already coffeeed out. And I clunk with you in good fellowship. And speaking of good fellows, here's my little friend Charlie out in the backyard a little while ago, happily trotting around. His ears were in mid-bounce then. They weren't as flop-eared as they sometimes are. But there he is for your viewing pleasure. Right now he's sleeping under the big picture window. And so like that's out of the way. And then we'll get rolling here. And just doing some songs that I really like today. After Dave Mason, Jay Moore, Kathy Marsick, Carol Pratt, David Arthur Radcliffe, Charlotte Cantrell, Steve Walker again, Rhonda Scott Merrick again. And hopefully we'll even get even more people. We're getting up there now. So this is a Townes Van Zandt song, and Townes wrote a limited number of songs. I think he only really published like 90 songs in his life, which, compared to a lot of songwriters, they turn that out in a couple years. But Tom Paxton probably turns out in a week. But if there's a greatest Townes song, I think this is probably it. So. Living on the road, my friend, is gonna make you free and clean. Now you wear your skin like iron, your breath's as hard as kerosene. You weren't your mama's only boy, but her favorite one it seems. She began to cry when you said goodbye, sank into your dream. Now Pancho was a bandit, boys. His horse was fast as polished steel. He wore his gun outside his belt for all the honest world to feel. They say he met his end, on the desert south in Mexico. No one heard his dying word. That's the way it goes. And all the federales say they could have had him any day. They just let him go that way. Out of kindness, I suppose. And Lefty, he can't sing the blues all night long like he used to. The dust that Pancho bit down south, it ended up in Lefty's mouth. The day they laid poor Pancho low, Lefty split for Ohio, where he got the bread to go. Oh, there ain't nobody knows. And all the Federalists say could have had him any day. They just let him go that way, out of kindness, I suppose. Tell how Pancho fell. Lefty's living in a cheap hotel. The desert's quiet, Cleveland's cold, so the story ends, we're told. Pancho needs your prayers, it's true, but save a few for Lefty too. He just did what he had to do. Now he's growing old, and all the Federalists say they could have had him any day. They just let him go that way, out of kindness, I suppose. And some great Federalists say they could have had him any day. They just let him go that way, out of kindness, I suppose. Pancho and Lefty by Townes Van Zandt. And let me see who else is here. Michael Miller is here, and Keith Payne, and Kit Sarikaku, and Lori Payne, and Rob Bulkley. Hey, Rob, good to see you here. And Slim Edelman. And Slim is expecting 109 in Tucson today. And Victoria Munoz, good to see you, Vic. And I think that's pretty much everyone who I meant to say hi to. So next up, for a complete change of pace, is a Billie Holiday song. And this version is certainly influenced by Dave Van Ronk's version. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have. God bless the child who's got his own, got his own. You know the rich get rich while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets, they don't ever make the grade. Mama may have, Papa may have. God bless the child who's got his own. You know, money, you've got lots of friends hanging round your door. But when money's gone and spending ends, they don't come no more. Now rich relations, they may give you crusts of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't you take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have. God bless the child who's got his own. Got his own. You know, money, you've got lots of friends hanging round your door. But when money's gone and spending ends, you know they don't come no more. Well, rich relations may give you crusts of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't you take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have. God bless the child who's got his own. Who's got his own. God Bless the Child by Billie Holiday. And somebody else who might have just been coming in. It might be the guy, I think the name is Herzog, who wrote it, and she insisted on having her name attached to it for the royalties, or it might be she who wrote it and the publisher insisted on having his name attached for the royalties. Who knows? So anyhow, it is announcement time. I know there are people here who are invisible, and they could be Joel Biget in France, it could be George Young in Winter Garden, Florida, or Judith Fox in Reston, Virginia, or Mario Prue in Iroquois Falls, Ontario, Canada. And it could be other people who I just can't see on my feed. And I apologize, but I say hi to everybody. If I didn't see you, I'm sorry. So the guitar today is once again the Pre-War Guitars Company pre-war style Martin style guitar, made in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and there is, as usual, a PayPal link right there. And in the announcements department, I will be sharing a night with Magpie at Percy Patchwork's Coffee House here in Bucks County on October 11th, and I will be doing an Ann Mintz Cliff Wagner house concert in the Mount Airy section of Philadelphia on November 8th. Those are still a ways off. And as far as the announcements for online today, I am on right now, of course. Steve Walker will be doing his monthly first Wednesday of the month concert tonight at 7. You can find his Facebook page and get on there. On Thursday, Helen Avakian and David Irwin, my good friends, will be doing their show from out there in Madison, Wisconsin, and if they're home. Otherwise, they often do it on the road even. And they're both great guitarists. Helen is a international fingerstyle champion. And on Friday, Slim Edelman will be doing his show at 3:30, and it's going to be on Tom Lehrer. But we want to wish our condolences. Slim and Kathy lost their bird. I think they said a cockatoo, Shayna bird, this last couple days, and I think they're going to do something for her on Slim's show as well. So we send you our condolences, Slim and Kathy. And then Friday at 4, Bunny Barnes will be doing her 4 for now, I think. She keeps expanding. And Saturday at 3, Warren Bendler will be doing his show. And then Sunday morning, I'll be back with the request show. And as I said earlier, in case you got here late, I'm going to do one more song, and then I'm going to tell you a story. And it will lead into discussing an arrangement, a guitar arrangement. And I hope you enjoy it. I'm excited. I've got some pictures to share with you. But before we have that, I'll do one more song for you. And this is a Norman Blake song. I've been hanging out in town, Lord, in that low-down rain, watching Good Time Charlie friends is driving me insane. Out on shady Charlotte Street, you know the green lights all looked red. I wish I was back on the farm in my feather bed. I'm gonna get myself a rocking chair, see if I can lose them thin dime hard time hell on Church Street blues. Well, I got myself a paper friend. I read yesterday's news, then I folded up page 21 and I stuck it in my shoe. Gave me a nickel to the poor, my good deed for the day. Then I folded up my old billfold, threw it far away. I'm gonna get myself a rocking chair, see if I could lose them thin dime hard time hell on Church Street blues. Wish I had some guitar strings, that old Black Diamond brand. I'd string up this old Martin-like box and go and join some band. But I guess I'm gonna stay right here, pick and sing a while. Gonna make myself a little change, give them folks a smile. I'm gonna get myself a rocking chair, see if I could lose them thin dime hard time hell on Church Street blues. Church Street Blues by Norman Blake. And now we're down to it here. So here's the story. It starts 30, 40, 50, 55 years ago. In the spring of 1970, I had a friend named Doug Rutherford, and he was a fiddle player, really good fiddle player. And he had been from Ann Arbor, and he said to me one time, we should go up to Ann Arbor because there's all these great guitar players up there, and you'd meet some really good people. So off we went to Ann Arbor, and me, Alex Bevan, and Doug Rutherford. And while we were up there, we got introduced to Andy Cohen. This was the first time I met Andy Cohen. And here's a picture of Andy, probably kind of the way he looked when I first met him. And I think that's in Jack McGann's living room on Farragut Street in Philadelphia. He's got a fancy old harp guitar there. I don't think there's any harp strings on it. I'm not sure what that guitar is. Anyhow, Andy is often has weird instruments, and those of you who know him will recognize the impish child here, who is now the old Confederate. So while I was up there, Andy told me about all these guitarists because I had not really traveled that much at that point. I'd been to the East Coast a couple times, and this was like a month before Kent State blew up, and I left Kent after that. But so he told me all these names. One of the names he mentioned, because he had traveled around, he'd been at Cafe Lena in upstate New York, Saratoga Springs, and of course, the Arc in Ann Arbor, a lot of people came through there, and there was kind of in Berkeley, there was I'm trying to remember where in Berkeley there was, but there was like John Lundberg's shop. He was a famous guitar repairman and luthier. Anyhow, there's all this stuff, and one of the names he mentioned was Jack McGann, and that was the first time I heard Jack's name. That was 1970. So 5 years later, I am living in San Francisco, and I get a job teaching at Marina Music, which was probably the premier acoustic guitar shop in San Francisco at that time. And I'm going to show you a picture of the inside of the shop because I need to show you these people. But first, did I show you the later picture of me and Andy? I will. This is me and Andy playing at Swannanoa about 15 years ago, probably. We have played together many times over the years, and our friendship has stayed strong. That's the middle-aged Andy and the middle-aged Raleigh. Now we're at the old-aged Andy and Raleigh. I'm not going to bore you with a picture of that. So anyhow, I'm in San Francisco. I'm working at Marina Music. Here's Marina Music. You can see all those guitars hanging from the ceiling. And there's two gentlemen there. I'll use the word gentleman loosely. And on the left is Michael King, and Michael was a really good fingerstyle guitar player. And on the right is Stu Goldberg, and Stu Goldberg owned Marina Music. He was a former circus performer, juggler, circus clown, and stuntman, Hollywood stuntman, who had opened this guitar store because he loved guitars and folk music. And so while I was working at Marina Music, Michael King, who's there with the bushy head, who has since passed away, as has Stu now. Stu was older than us. But Michael showed me this guitar arrangement, and it was very cool. It was short, but it was very cool. And he said, oh, this is written by this guy, Jack McGann. And I said, I know that name. Somebody told me about him. Andy Cohen told me about him, and all that all that Michael knew about Jack, he said, yeah, he's the president of Gay Pride in Philadelphia, which, whatever, at the time was like I was living in San Francisco. There were a lot of gay people around, and it was not a big deal. So even though in the rest of the country being gay was a huge deal at that time. So this is what he showed me. thought, that is incredibly cool, this moving bass line, you know. And went all the way up. And I made him teach it to me note for note, and I kind of hung on to it. And just for kind of context, this is about what I looked like. This is me out in front of Marina Music. At that time, I was a little younger than I am now, and that's my BMW motorcycle that I'd ridden from Cape Cod to San Francisco. And that's where I would park it on the sidewalk, and this was Union Street, Union and Laguna in the Marina district of San Francisco, and we would sit on the bench and, I'm not going to lie, watch the girls go by, because it was a big fashion area too. So anyhow, so many more years go by, and I meet Steve Mann, who also knew all these people. And at some point, I get contacted by Stu Goldberg, who I had never really known. I just knew he owned the store because he was busy doing other stuff. And Stu contacts me and wants to learn how to play like Jack McGann, or like Steve Mann. So I sent him some videos, and he in turn was very generous with me. He sent me like what at the time was a really expensive CD recorder where you could record a CD. And direct to disc, as it were. And he also started sending me all these CD-ROMs with music on it by different people. On one of these CD-ROMs was Jack McGann playing the Calico Rag. Now, I got a little ahead of myself because I have to back up now. Because in 1980, I moved to Philadelphia. So San Francisco was in 1975. This was now 1980. I moved to Philadelphia, and I met Jack McGann. I was playing at Clark Park in West Philly, playing a gig with a singer, and I met Jack. He was playing there. He was just visiting town, and we became fast friends because we realized we both also were deep into Tai Chi. So we started, when Jack would be in town, we'd hang out together. And of course, I asked him about the Calico Rag. He had no memory of having written it. He said, nah, I don't know. So then, years later, when I get this CD from Stu Goldberg, and I find out that there's Jack McGann on it, and I listen to it, and there's the Calico Rag, but not just the first part. There's a second part, and there's like another whole section which nobody knows whether it's a medley of Maple Leaf Rag or whether it's just derivative. But basically, I won't play you that part, but the part that I had at this point was this. This repeats. And then a new part. Another extended kind of Maple Leaf Rag quote after that. So I've learned that, and I've played it on here several times. It's been fun, and I love that tune. And but recently I've gotten sick of having people say, "Hey, that's just the Maple Leaf Rag at the end," and I'm like, do I know whether it was a medley or whether it was a derivative part B that was like the Maple Leaf Rag? And I finally kind of said, 3 days ago, I said to myself, I don't care whether it's a medley or not. Anybody who knew is long dead. Jack McGann died of AIDS in 1991, and we still miss him. And Stu Goldberg died about 10 years ago, 8 years ago maybe. And so nobody knows. And I thought, back in the day, I had actually kind of composed a B part to, when I first knew that first little part, I wrote another part which I tried to append to it, and I have no idea what it was. I've forgotten it long ago. And when I learned the one that Stu sent me, then I had that. So a few days ago I said, I don't care, I'm getting rid of the Maple Leaf Rag part, and I'm going to write a new part. And so I had these are the strictures I had. I want to come back for a second because we're talking about Jack McGann. This is Jack. I think this is Jack. That's Jack and me playing at the cherry tree. Note my green, red, and gold little swatch of hair on the right side of my head. Left side if you're facing it. And that was Jack McGann, who by then played mostly jazz and classical, but could still perform amazing, great stuff. And I was privileged to get to sit in his company on stage a few times. So, and then I'll give you one more picture of Jack, which I'll also show you later. And this is, I believe this picture was taken at Aunt Mince's wedding. So I don't know what year that was, 1984 or something like that. She could say if she was here, but she's signing postcards right now or doing her weekly event. So that's Jack as we knew him before he got sick. And so I've written this new part, and I wanted to do some things with it. First of all, the B part I didn't want it to be in the same key as the A part. And then secondly, I decided first of all, it was important to me that it stuck with the theme of having that moving bass line. So I wanted the bass to be moving pretty steadily. And so that was my parameters: new key, moving bass, and then I thought maybe minor key would be nice. And what ended up happening then, so when you write something in a new key, you have to figure out how to get into the new key, and then you have to figure out how to get back out of the new key to get back to the first key again. So in this case, I went from the key of, we're going to pretend this capo is the bottom of the guitar. I went from the key of C into the key of E minor, and then I had to get back. And one of the things I used to get back is an interlude, and there's an interlude in the Maple Leaf Rag, if you not the Maple Leaf, the Entertainer, that is not a whole section of the tune. It just goes that whole thing, and then there's a part where it goes. And then it goes into the next part, but I'm not going to play that right now. So I composed a little interlude to get me from my B part back into the original part. So I'm going to play the whole tune for you, and I might talk about it a little bit more, and then I'll sing a mantra, and we'll all go home. Let me do a quick look here. Denny Oliver is here, and Mike Verbeek, and Bunny Barnes, and Johnson Hogg, and I think that's about it, who I didn't already say hi to, Tom Dietz, and the whole gang. So good to have you all here with me. And so here we go. And this is brand new, so I may fuck it up a few times before we get it right, but we'll see. So, and I don't know what to call it now, because it used to be just called, Jack called it the Calico Rag. I started to call it Jack McGann's Calico Rag, because I wanted his name attached to it. And it's a special little arrangement. It's such a great tune. And then now it's kind of my and Jack's Calico Rag, but I'm not sure what to do about that. So we'll just call it the new Calico Rag for today. So here we go. Let's see how this goes. So that's the new Calico Rag, and I'll tell you a couple little things about it. So it's when we get to the end of the part I originally knew. To get into E minor, I go down 1 fret from C7 to B7, which becomes the 5 chord in the key of E minor. And then we go into E minor and go. Repeat that. And then E minor, I go D and then up to G. This is the interlude. that becomes the 5 chord that leads me back into and on to the end. Now, and the version I had by Jack ended with this lick as part of the kind of maple leaf rag part. And there you have it, the new Calico Rag. And I'm going to keep working on it. I may change it some more yet, but it's sounded pretty okay to me. Tell me what you think of it. And I thank you, as always, for joining me. Be happy and be healthy. Be brave and be calm. Be kind, it's a snap. And if you get cranky, take a nap. I see my buddy Doug Tanner. Hi, Doug. Much love to you all. Thanks for sticking around for an extra 15 minutes to hear me yap. And I will hope to see some of you later in the week. In the meantime, you got lots of good people to listen to. And Steve Walker tonight, Helen and David tomorrow night, both Slim and Bunny on Friday, Warren on Saturday. And then I'll be back Sunday. Bye-bye. Much love to you all.